Hello, it's Ren Presents time. I'm your host, Ren, and today we continue with the Hazards of the Old Ones, Part 3, Chapter 24, Behold, the Enemy of the Vith. So last week, we had an action-packed episode, both on Xandarr and in the air, in the Seeker. Seeker comes down to collect Captain Davage and his party from the hellhole that is Xandarr Keep, and Lady Poe and some of the Ruthvens use Medallion B to infiltrate Lord Milton's laboratory, and they find Carahill there in his little magic circle, about to be vivisected by science ministry types under the supervision of Lord Milton. A battle ensues. Lady Poe is shot, but Carahill heals her. Lord Milton gets taken down, gets his head blown clean off with a Herdimer heat gun. And while they're trying to free Carahill from his bonds, who comes rising up from the ground but a headless Lord Milton? He starts growing. His clothes on fire break loose, revealing a very feminine-looking body. And it turns out this entire time, it's kind of a J.K. Rowling thing, the whole time he was a High-Tath warrior. And I last week explained what a High-Tath warrior is. I kind of got a little ahead of myself because that hasn't really been explained in the book yet, but I don't care. I'm going to explain. Anyways, this week we continue as the Ruthvens and Lady Poe now have to deal with the fully unleashed High-Tath form of Lord Milton in Behold, the Enemy of the Vith, because that's exactly what the High-Tath are. They are the enemies of the Vith. They devour the Vith, have a taste for Vith flesh. So let's proceed right away. I start talking so much I lose track of the time. Let's proceed immediately. Part 3, Chapter 24, Behold, the Enemy of the Vith. Davage, seeing the spheres, cursed and rammed the wheel hard to port. Sorry, for creation's sake, give me a 42-degree left quarter boost. She hit the switches, and the Seeker underwent a gut-wrenching drop with a sickeningly tight left bank. The bridge crew, accustomed to holding on when Davage was at the wheel, really had to hold on for this brutal turn. Lieutenant Verlin, her arms wrapped around the rail, nearly did a backflip with the movement. Davage whipped his head around, sighting this way and that. He saw the severe turn had been mostly successful, the great bulk of the spheres falling to the rear. Suddenly, the Seeker was seized by one of the Shadowtech beasts from below, its black tentacle wrapping around the ship's neck. The ship groaned and strained to maintain its bearing. The creature opened its mouth and created a frothing swarm of black spheres, expanding and death-bringing. "We're done, love," came Sig's telepathy. "Dav!" Kai's voice came down over the comm a moment later. "Let him fly. Use the forward bank for now. We're moving on to the other ones." Straining, Davage pointed the nose at the beast. Canister control, loose a four-shot burst with a staggered screening blast. Forward bay only. With the usual thud, 4 canisters shot out of the front of the ship. Davage sighted them. They were shining with silver tech. The canisters exploded in a flash. 4 explosions packed tightly together, their blasts heavy and energy-laden. The blast decimated the black spheres, popping them in a slimy film. The top of the Shadowtech beast's head was ripped off, and the rest of it was quickly dissolving, covered in silver. Shuddering, it released the ship and toppled over like a fallen tree, shaking the ground and stirring the clouds. Davage clawed back up for altitude. Settling at 10,000 feet, he looked around, seeing endless hordes of black ships and hundreds of giant Shadowtech beasts tearing up the landscape. Far away, he saw Sig's remaining seeker familiars in a swirling battle with a flock of giant Shadowtech birds, belching clouds of STTs. The birds were overwhelming Sig's familiars. The black ships were constantly attacking en masse, but the Seeker was faster, and with the sisters and a steady barrage of flak from its battle-shot batteries, it couldn't get close enough to do any serious damage. "What happened, Dav?" Sig asked. "Did it work?" "It did, darling. Well done." "We're moving on to another bay, love. I'll let you know when we're done. If you see Poe, have her join us." Verlin approached the helm. "Captain, we're clear. Should we not work our way back into orbit?" And Davage looked at all the beasts in the distance, ripping up the landscape, scooping up people and devouring them. The black ships and birds were keeping any escaping vessel pinned down, but peppered in here and there were Xandarr ships from the Keep, battling to the end. The whole planet in a slow, violent stage of death. He thought of Balor, the king. At first he hadn't considered to take him at his word, for surely he was lying, or had something up his sleeve. He was a Xandarr, of all things. But look, he welcomed them, assisted them, sacrificed his wife, and he saved those 44 black hats without fear or protest. He asked for much in return. He wanted the fleet to come to this death house and fight. He asked for the unheard of, but he asked, and for the right reasons. "Calm," Davage said. "Open a channel to fleet on Ultrawave. To all pledged vessels, imperative. Main fleet vessel Seeker engaged at planet Xandarr with hostile Black Hat and Shadowtech forces, seeking the total annihilation of the general populace, and requests all available vessels to assist in the defeat of these forces at once. Per formal request of Balor I, King of Xandarr." Davage paused a moment. "I am aware that Xandarr is a Zaffin world, and those attacked are Zaffins, and the attackers themselves are in fact Zaffins. I'm aware that Zaffins often prey upon each other, and I'm also aware that it is League policy not to interfere. But here we are, at this place, witnessing the horror of it all, the lives lost for no reason. I have seen cruelty here, and death and madness unleashed in quantity. But I have also seen courage and loyalty and selflessness. And I have been taught that even an enemy is worth making an effort to save. Here, I have learned that valor is the purview of the common man, be he League or Zaffin. And I put it to you that this action here is nothing less than the genocide of an entire people, a populace of simple villagers and farmers, of innocent women and children. We are pledged to defend life where life is threatened. Our pledge makes no distinction to political affiliation or territorial boundaries. Our duty as the Stellar Fleet is not to ferry dignitaries and collect taxes. Our job is to protect life and to keep our promise, and I say that right here on Xandarr is where the fight is. Right here is where life once again looks to us, the League, for salvation. And here is where the battle will be won. To me, and let us save these people." The strange, 8-armed male-female creature that was Lord Milton was tearing up the lab, trying to get at the Ruthvens. They peppered it with hits from their Herdimers, but the shots seemed to do no damage. Its soft, pale skin was both energy-resistant and fireproof. "I'll bet you never thought of something like this happening to you," Milton said, swiping at Peter, her 8 breasts free from the cruel confines of the girdle used to keep them hidden. "What in the name of creation are you?" Johnny cried, firing with his left hand and lashing it with his sap with his right. "It's a high-tath," Carahill called out from his circle. It's my bad. I should have figured that out earlier." At this point, Milton, seemingly growing with each shot taken, stood about 20 feet tall. It was like an amalgam of 3 women and 1 man. Its new face was female, had 3 sets of female arms and 4 sets of female breasts, and yes, 3 fully developed female nether regions. With it also had 1 male set of arms and 1 male set of genitalia. If Johnny was being honest, it actually had a pretty decent figure. "Milton!" Carahill shouted. "This can only end one way, and you know it. Stop this now!" Milton, chasing after Johnny, walked into one of the fallen scientists. It seized the limp form and ate him in 2 crunching bites. "Oh!" it cried with its brand new female head. "So good!" "This is an elder curse," Peter shouted. "Perhaps we can help you be rid of it." The creature was joyous as it reached for another dead scientist. "Be rid of it? I, Larry Lunchmeat, am your master, and you are my cattle. I've denied myself for too long, wearing your clothes, abiding by your laws, contenting myself with your putrid society for far too long. I am finally free." It took a deep breath. "Oh, Lord Ruthven, I can smell you from here, and you smell delicious." Milton lunged for him. Peter dove out of the way and shot it in the hand. The shot appeared to have no effect. Moving with the speed of a demon, it turned and began climbing the walls, sticking like a huge spider. It reached out, one of its arms stretching like rubber, and grabbed Peter about the waist. Johnny lunged, trying to get at it with his sword-shaped sap with a lightning-fast hand. Milton swatted him aside. "So warm! So tasty!" Milton opened its new female mouth to devour Peter. "Put him down!" came a commanding shout from below. Lady Poe stood there, her silver-haloed fist pointing square at Milton's back. Milton smiled and made ready to pop Peter in. "Good lady, you Betty sight of beef, you. Don't go anywhere. You're next." A devastating blast of silver came up and got Milton in the back, its force unstoppable. Milton crumpled to the floor in a terrible mess, a huge hollowed-out hole carved in its chest. Peter scrambled away from the ruined carcass. Poe stood there, her hands covering her mouth. I've killed it," she moaned. Peter embraced her. "You had no choice. My Lady Milton gave you no choice. You saved my life." He took her in his arms and led her away. Johnny recovered his sap, and after several heavy blows, broke the circle. Carahill came loping out. "Come," he said. "Mother, friends, we've work to do, and there is no time." They went up the stairs, leaving the heap of arms and legs that was once Lord Milton where it lay. And with that, we conclude Part 3, Chapter 24, Behold the Enemy of the Vith. Very short chapter. For the speech that Captain Davage gave when he was summoning the fleet to Xandarr, I did that 2 or 3 times before I thought it was right. I thought that was a very important speech, and with it, the end of the book sort of falls apart if it doesn't work out properly. King Balor had asked for the fleet's help, and Davage scoffed at him, like, that sort of thing is not done. There are agreements that our 2 sides have maintained for a long time, and we just don't come charging in when Zaffins are going after other Zaffins, which happens a lot. So what changed his mind? Was it that King Balor had begged him to help? Was it that King Balor had sacrificed some of his people, his wife included, to give Captain Davage time to make contact with the Seeker? Hard to say. Maybe a combination of all those things changed Captain Davage's mind, and at this point he is committed to the defense of Xandarr as best he can give it. And one good thing to do, it's noon, and obviously the tornado sirens are going off. Kind of reminds me of Silent Hill. Anyways, he summons the fleet, or he makes a call out to all the pledged ships, come to Xandarr and come fight with me. And he has no idea what the response will be. Might not be any response, because again, these are Zaffins, and the fleet has never done that in its history. So we'll see what happens next week. Also, Lady Poe takes out Lord Milton. The Hytath. Hytath are pretty durable. They can take a lot of hits. Usually bullets and fire and ice don't really work very well on them. You need a something bigger. You need a concussive blast, like a rocket or a grenade or something that's going to do a lot of damage. And Lady Poe, seeing Peter, her boyfriend, ostensibly, about to get eaten, takes drastic action and blows a hole in its chest with her Silvertech. Lady Poe is pretty tough. See the Shadowtech Goddess book for more on that. Anyways, Poe takes Lord Milton down, and then they escape the lab. Next week, we continue on. Chapter 25, Skies Full of Silver. So we're going to resolve this battle for Xandarr with the Black Hats and see where that leads us. We're getting near to the end of the book. We have about 5 or 6 chapters left, and we should be done. Oh, until then, this is Ren Presents. I'm your host, Ren. Peace out.